Good evening and welcome to the twice monthly meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Council. During the public health crisis, we will be conducting our meetings remotely, and they will be available and streamed live on the city's Facebook page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. We'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. First, we will consider the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the meeting of the mayor and council on August 24th and the closed meeting of the same night. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve, Mr. President.
I'll second it.
And a motion from Mr. Cavacci and a second from Mr. Dayhoff. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it and the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We have one presentation this evening, which is a proclamation by the mayor. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Looks like I have an old copy of the agenda. I don't know if it was updated or what, and my proclamation isn't quite there, but I have a copy somewhere. So if you just hold tight for a moment, I'll have it here. I did, just so everyone knows, I did do a reading of the proclamation earlier today and sent it to the ARC so that they could, in fact, send it around to everyone there, since everyone probably wasn't going to be able to watch our meeting tonight. But if you give me one moment, I will have that proclamation.
You have trouble finding it, Mr. Mayor. I have it in front of me if you need me to read it for you.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to read this thing. I have it. I just need to, there it is. Okay. All right, I got it. Apologize everyone for the delay. All right, I'll get right into it. Whereas the ARC Carroll County was founded in 1955 by a small group of parents of children with developmental disabilities who were committed to forming a community-based system to provide necessary services for their children. And at that time, children with developmental disabilities were excluded from public education, and there were no structured social, recreational, or educational activities. And since its establishment in 1955, the ARC of Carroll County has advocated for and worked to provide support to people with developmental disabilities and their families. And over the years, the ARC of Carroll County has grown to become one of the largest nonprofit organizations in Carroll County, serving nearly 700 adults and children. And the ARC of Carroll County could not achieve its mission of supporting people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in their individual pursuit of a fulfilling life without the services of direct support professionals. And direct support professionals work directly with people with physical disabilities and or intellectual disabilities, assisting the individual to become integrated into his or her community or the least restrictive environment. And Direct Support Professional Recognition Week highlights the dedicated, innovative direct support workforce that is the heart and soul of support for people with disabilities, and provides the opportunity to showcase the amazing work of these incredible professionals. Now, therefore, I, Joe Dominic, Mayor of the City of Westminster, in conjunction with the Common Council, do hereby proclaim September 14th to the 18th, 2020 as Direct Support Professional Appreciation Week in the City of Westminster. And be it further proclaimed that all residents are encouraged to join the Mayor and Common Council in commemorating this observance by thanking the staff of the ARC of Carroll County, past and present, for their dedication and efforts in supporting people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to be part of their community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. And now we'll move on to a public hearing. Public hearings in the city of Westminster are conducted by the mayor, so I will turn the gavel metaphorically over to him to preside over the public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay. All right. I still do not, can we put the hearing up on the screen? I don't have the newest agenda, or if someone could forward me the agenda, I just don't have it to read. You know what? I found it. Okay. All right. All right, so we're here for a public hearing, the development plan amendment DP-20-1 Carroll County Commerce Center. I don't have my gavel, so I know Mr. Depot is not here. Andrea, are you handling this?
Yes.
All right, why don't you start off?
Great, thank you so much. The Department of Community Planning and Development is seeking that the Mayor and Common Council action to amend the previously approved Carroll County Commerce Center Development Plan to designate condominium unit 7 for a convenience store with gasoline pump use to develop a Royal Farms convenience store. This area is the Carroll County Commerce Center. Is located at the east of the intersection of Maryland Route 97 and Corporate Center Court. And just want to share a few things with you that are worth noting in this staff report. One of the things that we recently did is that we took this development plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we gave a similar report. So I wanted to share some of the highlights with you from that meeting. One of the things that we talked a lot about is the fact that the Carroll County Commerce Center fronts on Maryland 97 North. And one of the things that we noticed while reviewing all of this is that in the comprehensive plan, our zoning ordinance, as well as a 2011 SHA concept plan, it is noted that there would be need for an additional right-of-way, that there would actually be the need for 110-foot right-of-way. And I apologize. And so through this process, we did not get any comments or requests from SHA regarding this right-of-way because they only comment on right-of-ways either by the time of acquisition or when an access permit is requested for 97. And since this is not the case with a property such as this, since already had access onto 97 from Corporate Center Drive. SHA looks for jurisdictions to explain the future needs of 97 and what we think is going to be necessary for it in the future. With this development plan, they'll be moving forward, like I said, with a Royal Farms. And we do feel that showing this type of right-of-way, the ultimate right-of-way on the plan, is important because there is a rational nexus between the development that's being proposed and this right-of-way. We feel that this is one of the largest industrial areas in the city and that it will actually be increasing traffic. The applicant has submitted this amendment plan. And with doing so, this is the time for us to review the needed improvements for 97. It doesn't keep a development from moving forward for development of Unit 6 or Unit 7. But what it does is that it gives us, this is our time to recognize as a city what is needed as far as the possible improvements for future expansions of 97. And this is our time to ask for it instead of waiting until development happens and then we realize that we have a serious problem on our hands. And the reason that I bring this up is because these are the things that we're asking for you to consider as a conditional adoption or approval of this plan. When we reviewed for everything else, however, landscape review, on the plan, they do have several of the large planting units that have been approved through different site development plans. There is enough parking on the property. Right now, there's a total required spaces of 576 spaces. And by the time everything is built out, all of the condominium units, there will be 718 spaces that will be provided. We always recognize how important water is, and so wanted to say that the units 2, 3, 4, and 5 are currently developed, and buildings on 3 and 5 were in existence when the background study for the water allocation study was done. Therefore, they didn't need a specific water allocation for those projects or those properties. However, the city received a water allocation for units 2 and 4. So that means that after this development of Royal Farms takes place, there will still be units 1 and 6 that will need water allocation in the future. And so with the approval of this development plan, there is no water that's being put aside for units 1 or 6 that will be considered at the time of site plan. So as I kind of said earlier, at the August 13th, 2020 meeting of the Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission, staff recommended that the commission move forward with the revised development plan for the Carroll County Commerce Center with a favorable recommendation with the following condition. We ask that they provide and depict the required right-of-way to accomplish 110 feet ultimate right-of-way for Maryland Route 97, consistent with the City of Westminster's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and State Highway Administration's 2011 concept design and report. However, the commission forwarded the recommendation of approval without any conditions at all. So staff just wants to reiterate the importance of the needed future improvements and widening of Maryland Route 97 and request that the Mayor and Common Council require that the applicant depict and denote the 110 feet right-of-way along the property frontage of 97. As I previously said, this does not keep the Commerce Center as a whole from developing. It also doesn't keep Royal Farms from developing on that property. The changes to the property would be 9 parking spaces. It would also require the stormwater management to be located on a different portion of the property, which we've talked to the county staff who is responsible for stormwater management, and they did say that it's not something that's impossible. There could be other places that stormwater management could be located. So it is the recommendation that the Mayor and Common Council approve the development plan DP 2001 Carroll County Commerce Center subject to the following condition: to depict the required right-of-way to accomplish 110 feet ultimate right-of-way for Maryland Route 97, consistent with the City of Westminster's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and State Highway Administration's June 2011 concept design and report.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhardt. All right, well, before myself and the council start to discuss this, who's handling this? Is this going to be Clark Schaefer or Kelly Schaefer? Or is it Kelly Schaefer? Is it Kelly Miller now?
It's legally Kelly Miller now, but Schaefer is my middle name, so it's okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you'd like to say something, now's a good time.
Thank you. It will be both Clark and I. We also have, you'll see all of the members of our team on the line here. We have Mr. Robert Rosen, who's the owner of the Commerce Center, Mr. Brian Ditto, who's here with me in my conference room, and he's the Director of Real Estate Development and Leasing for the Commerce Center, Mr. Alan Betton, who's Corporate Counsel, Wes Guckert, who's the President and CEO of the Traffic Group, Marty Hackett, President of CLSI, in case any of you are unfamiliar, and Linda Alexander, who's a Senior Project Manager at CLSI. So thank you for having us this evening. Yes, I would like to say a few words, probably more than a few words. Royal Farms started its approval process prior to a site plan, but let's just start from that point forward, just so you all understand the history of this a little bit. In April of 2018, Royal Farms had a pre-submittal meeting with the county and city to discuss, issues of development as is standard for any site development plan. And on January 9th, Royal Farms came before Planning Commission for an informal review of their site plan. It was April of 2020 that staff suggested that prior to a site plan approval that they must submit an amended development plan specifying this use within the larger commerce center. So that's why we're here tonight. We are asking that the original development plan for the commerce center be amended to show the Royal Farms on a portion that formerly just showed kind of spec buildings. As Ms. Gerhardt stated, on August 13th, we appeared before a Planning Commission and received a favorable recommendation without staff's suggested condition regarding the Maryland 97 right-of-way. And that's why we're here tonight with our full team also to talk to you and explain that issue. But just so you understand, September 10th, last week, Royal Farms obtained final site plan approval from Planning Commission conditioned upon this mayor and council's approval of this development plan. Again, so you understand, if you were, part of the reason that we're taking this comment about Route 97 so seriously is because if you are to accept staff's request, that will mean that Royal Farms will need to go back to the drawing board and redesign their entire site. It is not a minimal thing to take away parking spaces and move stormwater off site. That changes the entire area of your site plan, which requires a brand new submittal and probably another year to 2 year process. So that's why we take this so seriously. I also want to say that, just so you're aware, Royal Farms appeared before Planning Commission with final approval from SHA, final approval of the plan and final approval of a traffic impact analysis. So just so you're aware of that. Excuse me. Dating back even a little bit further, much further, just so you understand the history of the Commerce Center, it was April of 1991 that the mayor and council approved the annexation of the Commerce Center and simultaneous rezoning and development plan. This property, as you know, is zoned PI and is one of the only, if not the only property in the city to have applied for that zone and come in with a development plan. The original development plan has been built out in accordance with the plan. There are currently 4 existing buildings and 3 vacant units, one of which is where the proposed Royal Farms is to be located. So during that build out, Mr. Rosen recorded a condominium plat, which was approved at the state and county levels, and it's on Unit 7, a portion of Unit 7 that the Royal Farm site plan was approved for, and is the purpose of this amendment request. As part of the original development plan for the Commerce Center, Mr. Rosen was required to and did make improvements to Route 97. One of them is that light that you see at Commerce Center Court and Route 97. That was an installation financed by the Commerce Center as a result of their development. They also had to put in a decel and turn and acceleration lane as well as part of that original development. Because keep in mind, logically it makes sense, because the entire original development plan still showed development on this site. This is not the first time that development is being shown on this site. It's just that now it's being specified for Royal Farms. So the improvements that SHA exacted at the time were in anticipation of the full build out of the Commerce Center. So tonight we're here asking you to approve the development plan that's been presented to you without any right-of-way reservation. And we're going to walk you through the staff report and explain to you why it's not necessary for you to reserve a portion of 97. First, let me just briefly touch on the comprehensive plan. As you all are well aware, the city has the 2009 City's Comprehensive Plan. And there are multiple references, as staff points out in the report, about improvements to 97. Chapter 9 of that plan, the economic development chapter, pages 167 and 168, kind of delve into what those improvements actually are or what they were intended to be. And it said that these improvements will consolidate access points while also providing main line widening where Maryland Route 97 is only a single lane. So that effect has been carried out by Mr. Rosen because he has improved Maryland Route 97 in front of the Commerce Center. The staff also cites to the zoning code in asking for this right-of-way reservation. The zoning code cites to the annotated code. And the annotated code walks you through a process which is related to or done at the same time as when your transportation element of your master plan is done. And the process that the state goes through, which is Maryland Annotated Code section 6-101 of the land use article, talks about when you have master planned roads or streets, you as a city can go through an exercise where your planning commission has a survey done and goes through a public hearing process and puts on record a plat that lists the reservation areas for those roads, which, as you can imagine, that's a public process where landowners can then participate, object accordingly. And that is then put on record so that any developer now knows and can look at that and say, if I develop this piece of property, here is a plat showing what the city is going to ask of me. That is not the case here. Okay, so that has not been done for this. So the zoning code that's been cited to by staff really just does not apply to this situation before us. The 2011 SHA concept design and report, I have Mr. Guckert here to speak to some of the specifics of that. But just so you understand, that is a design and report. That is not an SHA document that indicates that those improvements will happen or are funded or are anywhere in the planning stages. That is a report that, that is put together by an independent engineer that assesses the cost and challenges to a development project so that then SHA can look at it and determine whether they are ready to do it, and if so, when and how they're going to fund it. So that plan is not something that anyone would look to and say, this is something that is required of me. And in fact, if it were, SHA absolutely would have commented through the site plan process for Royal Farms and said, please reserve this portion of right-of-way. That they would, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that process, but that is something that they do for nearly every development. And at no point in time do they request right-of-way for Royal Farms. If I can ask Mr. Guckert to jump in here for a moment, I would like him to explain as well. Wes, if you could jump in and just introduce yourself to the mayor and council and talk a little bit more specifically about the 2011 SHA concept and design report.
Sure. Good evening. Wes Guckert, president of the Traffic Group, Inc. We are a firm of traffic engineers and transportation planners, and actually have worked on this property with Mr. Rosen for many, many, many years, probably from the very beginning. I think what Kelly said is important to understand, that there's a difference between undertaking the preparation of a planning study and whether or not that planning study and the needs end up into an official consolidated transportation program document, which is where the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland State Highway Administration decides that a project is worthy enough to move forward, and that local government, and in this case, it would have been either the county or the city of Westminster, would have decided that this project is of importance enough that it make it into the consolidated transportation program, and that the Maryland State Highway Administration ask local government to start reserving right-of-way. In fact, that is not the case here. In fact, what has happened is the Maryland State Highway Administration, which always, in my opinion, for the last 45 years, has, when they would like to see right-of-way, or they would like to have right-of-way reserved or right-of-way dedicated, they are not shy about asking for that. Just the opposite. They will often ask for right-of-way, even if a project is not in the CTP, they will ask for right-of-way. Well, in this particular case, that did not happen at all. It's not in the CTP, and this project received a clean bill of health from the Maryland State Highway Administration without requesting additional right-of-way dedication. Kelly?
Thanks, Wes. I believe Clark.
Yeah, Clark needs to say, wants to say something. If I may, and sort of to summarize, this request by staff is a major request, as I think Kelly laid out. It submarines the site plan, and it essentially says to the property owner, take a portion of your property and don't use it. And you know why they say it? Because they think, the staff, they think maybe it might be needed in the future for a road improvement. Now, you've heard the testimony that it's not on the plan, it's not in any kind of budget. Mr. Guckert explained that it's way out there. And SHA, I agree with Mr. Guckert. I've been around a little bit too. They're not shy about asking for stuff. They have not asked for anything. Your planning commission unanimously recommended this without that condition. And by the way, I mean, not by the way, but importantly, there is a process specified in state law for, and excuse my language, I don't mean this, for grabs like this, for a request of private property owners to give or dedicate land for future public streets. The legislature of Maryland has recognized that that is a major process. And they have provided in the section Kelly cited in the land use article for a specific process for a local planning commission and legislative body to undertake in order to do that. And it involves public hearings. It involves drawing more than a line on a map, getting a survey done of where you want your future public road to go. Showing the landowner where it's going to go on his or her property, having a public hearing, hearing from everybody, and then if the legislative body decides, they put it on the plan, they adopt the plan in a public meeting, and that puts this line. Now, but it's not that easy, because you can't just say to a private property owner, oh, by the way, we have a planned major street going through the middle of your property, and we want you to reserve it. You need to tell that property owner how long that reservation is going to be. And there's case law suggesting that period is 2-3 years or so. In other words, you can't say, we might need this in the next 15 or 20 years. Please don't use it for that period of time. Just revise your site plan. Don't put parking in there. Don't put stormwater management in there. Just revise it. And in this instance, that request by staff is made in the context of a concept plan that State Highway put together, or some contractor for State Highway put together years ago. It's not anywhere in any official document or anywhere else. So in our opinion, this is not even really close to being a legitimate request, first a legal request to a private property owner to tell them, just don't use that area of your property. So we think it should not, we think you should approve the development plan without that condition.
I'd like to reference back just to the SHA concept plan. Also, just to put in perspective, the 2011 SHA plan provides a cost estimate for the project of over 40 million, or it's about $40 million. And of that 40 million, 13 million is allocated for what would be right-of-way acquisition costs. So again, and this was, if any of you had the opportunity to watch the Planning Commission discussion on this, this was in many ways the basis of their decision was related to SHA's ability to take and provide just compensation for this property if and when they felt it was necessary. So I did just want to, bring that part of the 2011 plan to your attention. This project, as you're all well familiar with, is located on 97, where there are several other developments up 97 as well. And Linda and Marty are here if you have any specific questions, but the similar right-of-way requests had not been made of those property owners. I also want to point out that Mr. Rosen owns the site south, which is yet to be developed, of the Royal Farms, and then additional property north, all of which are shown on that SHA plan as land that would need to be acquired and paid for in order to reserve and expand Route 97. This is a plan that, as Planning Commission deliberated and decided in their recommendation, would require some kind of compensation for it not to be an illegal taking of property. And there is case law upon case law about what constitutes a taking and whether a reservation constitutes a taking. And I would just say to you that, I can cite to you case law, but I'll just summarize and say that without providing just compensation, this request is, in my eyes, a taking. There's also, as Ms. Gerhardt noted, there's some case law that talks about the nexus between what is being exacted and the impact of this development. And as the comprehensive plan clearly states, Route 97 is a community problem, if you will. So we're not denying that there is traffic on Route 97. I don't think anybody's sitting here saying that, but we are not contributing to it to an extent that requires us to dedicate additional right-of-way from what has already been dedicated and improved by Mr. Rosen. That was part of the traffic impact analysis that, again, was part of the Royal Farms site plan that was reviewed and approved by SHA. So I also have Mr. Hackett and Ms. Alexander here to talk specifically to some of the points of the code that were called out in the staff report, specifically section 164, 188J. So I think it's appropriate at this time just to walk through those briefly, as staff points out that those are some of the code sections that you are to look at and make findings on. So if I can, I'd ask either Mr. Hackett or Ms. Alexander, whoever wants to take this one for the team, if we could look at 164, 188J and talk about subsection 1, which talks about whether the zone applied for is in substantial compliance with the use and density indicated on the master plan, and whether it conflicts with the general plan or other applicable city plans and policies.
Okay, we are zoned. We comply with the master plan. Our zoning and even the use of the fuel station is recognized as a permitted use for that zoning. So therefore, we're in compliance with the master plan, and we don't show any conflict with the general plan.
Ms. Alexander, is density any kind of issue here?
No, it's not. No,
and why
there is
is
no
that?
density. There is no density calculation required in the planned industrial zone. The density requirement is when it's a residential type of development plan, and that's we're an industrial development plan.
And are we compatible with the master plan land use because it's land use industrial?
Yes. Yes.
And okay, so jumping to subsection 2 of 164-188J, which talks about providing safety, convenience, and amenity for residents. Can you speak to that section of the code?
Yes. So the amenities, you know, we are a planned industrial, so we don't have any residential component. Obviously, from a safety standpoint, the improvements that were done at 97 were one of the main safety elements that were implemented when the original development plan was approved. And as part of the original development plan, I guess you want to say build out, those improvements were done. The other safety items that are in place is we do have the access, you know, we have sidewalks, we have, you know, handicap ramps. I mean, the entire development itself internally has complied with a lot of the safety and the amenities that need to happen under a planned industrial type of development.
And as far as you're aware, did Royal Farms receive all agency approvals as part of their site plan?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
So
as well as their site plan their site plan was also reviewed as far as safety and handicap and the access in and out on 97. All that was reviewed as part of their site plan and was approved.
Thank you. And subsection 3 talks about vehicular and pedestrian circulation systems. Can you speak to whether those are adequate?
Yes. Again, we will go back to the access into the site was approved and allows safe access in. That's what the signalization is there for. The other items that are there is you have the public road, you have the sidewalks that are very safe, you have the interior parking lots, all of which the sidewalks are running adjacent to the buildings. Everything is marked safety wise. You have the lighting. You have lighting in place that everybody, you know, even in the evening, you can ingress and egress out of the site safely.
And for subsection 4, it talks about minimizing grading and trying to prevent erosion of soil and preserving natural vegetation and other natural features. Can you speak to those?
Yes, again, when the site was originally developed, the sediment control that was in place and the grading that was in place was done very careful as to not impact any of the floodplain or the wetlands areas or even the existing tree buffers that were in place. So those were maintained very well. And of course, now the site that's been stabilized, each site plan that comes in is enhancing those buffers, those landscape buffers to the residential communities, as well as just the landscaping itself is providing additional enhancement vegetation wise and screening wise individual buildings. And as far as the site is concerned right now, the way the site is prepared, each individual unit that now is being built out, including Rural Farms, is requiring very minimal grading in order to be able to have it built out.
Subsection 5 talks about any recreational or other common or quasi-public purpose areas. Do we have any of those as part of this development?
We do have some open areas, but this is not a residential. This is not a residential development, so there's really no components of that under a planned industrial.
Okay.
Ms. Alexander, really quickly, we're getting some feedback when you speak.
Oh.
Do you have the meeting up on Facebook or streaming at all? If not, it might be.
Let me see.
It's not horrible. We can hear you, but if you have it up and the volume's on, if you could just turn the volume down.
I don't know. Let me see. I don't think I have it streaming.
Okay. Well, it might not be anything. It's not terrible. I just wanted to make you aware of it. Thank you.
I did hear a little bit of the feedback, but I'm not getting any feedback over here.
Okay. Miss Schaefer / Ms. Miller, you're I think you were speaking, correct?
Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Just the last subsection of this section of the code, Ms. Alexander, subsection 6, are you to your knowledge, is this plan in accordance with all pertinent statutory requirements?
Yes.
Thank you. So I wanted to touch on that section 164-188J of the code. 164-188K addresses amendments to a development plan and acknowledges that amendments to development plans can occur without any kind of rezoning. So obviously, as you all are aware, we are not requesting any kind of rezoning. This property is already zoned planned industrial, but the code then cites back to these sections of the code and says that in making your determination, you're supposed to look to these factors. So I did want to touch on them, but I also want to just emphasize to you that this was also looked at in the initial approval of the development plan. So although we are here amending it, which will subsequently take over as the new and improved development plan for the Commerce Center, it truly has not changed much because there was already development shown on all of the same site. Now we're just specifying it be for Royal Farms, and obviously Royal Farms has in fact gone through the site plan process. So with that summation and testimony, as both Clark and I have stated, we really feel that it is an overreach for staff to request this 97 right-of-way. In effect, that would require a full redesign of the Royal Farms site plan and a redesign that was requested towards the end, if not at the end, of the Royal Farms site plan approval process. They'd already been in review for about 2 years before that was a request that was asked of them. So I just want to express to you the importance of this, both on the Royal Farms property or leased property and on the remainder of the Commerce Center, because that site south that also sits on Route 97 has yet to be developed as well. So this type of request would actually impact that just as much as the Royal Farms site. So we are here, we have our whole team here to answer any specific questions that you might have about this. I would ask that you approve this as presented to you tonight without the condition that staff has suggested and in line with the Planning Commission's recommendation, which was approval without any condition related to Route 97. So thank you.
To clarify, Ms. Miller, we're not going to, this isn't something that would be approved tonight. This is a public hearing. This is going to stay open until at least the next meeting, just so you know where the process is. So we're hearing it tonight, but.
Thank you. We were not aware of that, but thank you for clarifying.
Clark Schaefer has to get one last word in, please. It is, maybe I'm beating a dead horse, but think how you would feel if you owned a piece of property and you came in to build a house and a garage on it. And the government said to you, oh, by the way, there's a plan that it's not on any official plan. It's not on the master plan. It's not on a publicly adopted street reservation plan that's authorized by the annotated code, but some other government entity has done some kind of concept plan and said there could be a road through there someday. And because of that, and that's it requires a $40 million budget appropriation or whatever, and it could be 10 years, could be 15 years, could be 30 years, could be never. But because of that, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, why don't you our recommendation is we'll approve your house and garage, but you can't put the garage there. Move it 20, 30, 50 feet over and mark that 40 foot of your property or whatever it is, mark it, put a line on there and mark it reserved. Now, I hope that hits home because it should, because government cannot and should not do that based on these plans. If government wants, there's an old Supreme Court saying, one of the justices said, if the purchase price is zero, the government's appetite is insatiable. Okay? So if government wants to preserve this right of way so badly, as your staff points out, buy it. Buy it. Put your money where your mouth is. You know, the public needs your property, Mr. Rosen, and he needs it for future road improvements. Don't tell me to just stick it on there for whatever. Nobody's ever, by the way, staff's never said this could be a 3-year reservation. This could be a 5-year reservation. This could be a 40-year reservation. We'll let you know down the road if we ever need this. I hope you can see that not only is that illegal, it's not proper public policy. Thank you.
Okay. So I see that you're on now, Mr. Depot. Is there anything that you'd like to add before I turn this over to council discussion?
Not necessarily. I think I'd like to discuss this with Alyssa. I believe what they're talking about is condemnation. And we are not going out as a city asking for this. This is the applicant submitting a development plan that's required by the ordinance for the Royal Farm development. We did not seek this. It's part of this process. When we review the development plan, we look at the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. We are not arbitrarily going out and trying to take land through condemnation. So again, I would like to talk to Alyssa a little bit about this. Some of the information that Kelly has brought up and Clark is new from the Planning Commission. So, and again, I certainly do not want to do something that we do not have the legal authority to do it. I believe we can do this, but I may be completely wrong. So I would like to spend that time and talk to Alyssa. And also reach out to the applicant as well.
Okay. All right. So I guess if there's anyone on the council that would like to speak on this before we move on with the meeting, and now's the time.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I apologize.
Mr. Cavacci.
Yeah. So I think Mr. Depot hit the nail on the head. We need to take our time with this. Some words like illegal and compensation for land and things that were talked about this evening that we were completely unprepared for in the information that we had in our packet tells me that we need to take our time. We need to seek some counsel on our end, because it sounds to me like there's some consideration on their part, Ms. Miller and Mr. Schaefer's part, about potential legal action and doing things illegal. I heard that term come up a couple of times. So when I hear that, it's time for us to put the brakes on and make sure that we're doing things very carefully. Secondarily, I would like to speak to Mr. Rosen just briefly. Sir, we're a very pro-business council. We very much want good things to happen, and certainly a Royal Farms in that location seems like it would be a nice fit. Our goal will be to try to figure out how we make things happen for you over in that complex. And it's a beautiful complex that you have, and I know you've struggled a little bit getting it as filled up as you would like it to be, and we want to do what we can to try to help you. But by the same token, when we start hearing things like what was said this evening, we need to be careful. Mr. Schaefer used the term government like it's this big nebulous thing. Well, government is the 5 of us and the mayor sitting here that have to live right here in this community and are going to have people asking questions of us when we make a poor decision. And then they're going to be looking at us when we're in the grocery store or on Main Street saying, what the hell are you guys thinking? Why did you make that decision? Why'd you do that way? We're not some big nebulous entity. We're some local folks right here in the community that live with these actions. So basically what I'm saying is, let's pump the brakes, get more information, and proceed from there. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Mayor?
Mr. President.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to agree with Mr. Cavacci's remarks. I think that, it was we're being asked to do something here, to approve something that that somebody else applied for, and the presentation was about a lot of threats rather than about a lot of efforts to try and help find a solution. So I agree, we've got to proceed carefully here and try and figure out what the best path forward is.
No one has anything else to say. We will continue on with the meeting and end this portion of it, but we will not be ending the public hearing. We will leave the record open. Mr. President or Ms. Levan, if you can give me some guidance here. The record, is it going to be open until the next meeting, or does it close before then, and then we'll we address the comments at the next meeting?
Mayor, I'd recommend that we leave it open until perhaps the whatever the date is, maybe the Thursday or Friday before the next meeting, to give staff the chance to gather the comments and put them in the packet. So maybe even a day or so before that, the Wednesday before the meeting, perhaps.
I believe that's what we've been doing. Okay, yeah. So we'll leave the record open until let's say the Thursday before the meeting. Let me get the date here so everyone knows when that is. The next meeting, so on the 28th, though, the record will be open till 5 o'clock on September 24th.
The 24th. Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, well, one second, Mr. Dayhoff. Is that sufficient? The staff that will be handling that, is that sufficient amount of time between the end of the business day on the 24th to the following meeting to get all the comments together?
Mark?
Was that going to be Mr. Depot, or would that be Ms. Visoxy?
I obviously, there's only the one topic, and that's about the right-of-way. So I'd like to get some advice from Melissa as to timing. We're ready to talk about this, but I'm sure she would want some time to digest this, as I think this is somewhat new to her, this discussion. So
oh, that's okay. I was talking about getting the comments together between the 24th and the 28th. I think we have a couple of weeks for us to consult counsel. All right, Mr. We'll do 5 o'clock on the 24th. Mr. Dayhoff, you want to speak?
Yeah, and I guess I specifically want to hear a little bit more about the interface between 64B and 164-138. I want to ask a real simple question. So, Mr. Depot, as this development is currently planned, there's going to be 4 lanes at this portion of Route 97?
it's planned for, the comprehensive plan calls for a 5-lane roadway. With
I'm well aware of that, because out beyond it's 5 lanes.
Yes.
And the next section we talked about in 2001 to be 5 lanes, but the developer's position is that they only want to have 4 lanes right off of Route 140.
I don't think that's been decided. The plan that we have that was done in 2011 doesn't demonstrate that. I think you do look to the north, the 5-lane
Yes.
improvements that just happened.
Yes.
Speaking to State Highway, they would anticipate the same 5-lane
Yes.
construction here. They were able to do that 5 lanes in 110 feet and believe they could equally do it here. That's why we asked for a much lesser right-of-way than we would typically have asked for. And it's much less than what the actual plan in 2011 calls for, because it was demonstrated that they could accomplish the 5 lanes in 110 feet.
So to ask a simple question, and I'm sorry I'm not getting this. Our staff's position is you want room for 5 lanes.
Yes.
But the developer's position is that they don't want to provide room for 5 lanes. They only want to provide room for 4 lanes.
They're not offering any right of way at all. They want to keep the right of way as it is at the, I guess it's 60-foot right of way right now.
Which will not facilitate 5 lanes.
No, it could not. Not designed under state highways requirements for
Correct.
roadways.
Correct. And what is the current status? The next section up has been designed for a long time and planned for a long time. And I thought that there was some discussion about moving some stoplights and widening the road in the next section up. Between that section and the section that's already been improved. what is the status of that next section?
That I don't know. I know there is discussion about moving the traffic light from this intersection up north. We did have a meeting with the state and the CTP tours coming up, and both the county and the city again reminded the state the importance of 97 and improvements along 97 in this section.
Yeah, maybe we can dig that. Maybe we can dig that up. So perhaps Ms. Levin can help us out with what it is that Counsel for the Developer has called to our attention as far as what will facilitate providing 5 lanes. I mean, I want to echo what Mr. Cavacci said and what Mr. Pecoraro said. This has got to be one of the most pro-business councils around, but traffic has got to be fixed on Route 97 North. It's just got to be. I mean, that's just common sense. So I guess, so Mr. Mayor or Mr. President, you want to put this on the agenda for the next meeting? Or are we going to have enough time?
I very much,
information?
yeah, I don't know that we're going to commit to that tonight, Mr. Dayhoff.
Yeah, I'd rather we did not commit to that tonight.
We'll have to talk with staff and see when it's ready to come back.
Okay. I wonder, did Ms. Miller or Mr. Schaefer, do they have their presentation in the form of a memo? I would like to read it.
We can send you something, but listen, this Royal Farm site plan has been held for a long time, but okay.
I'm well aware.
It is, but here's a cogent question, I think. Has SHA asked for right-of-way for a 5-lane highway? Answer, no. Okay, is SHA the body that has primary governing authority over state highways? Yes. Now, then of course, the next question for probing minds is why? Why haven't they asked for it? Well, I could suggest you an answer, but I'm a lawyer representing a client, so who knows if I'm telling you the truth. But the answer is, number one, basically, they know they're not entitled to it now. As Mr. Guckert said, they're not shy when they think, you know why they know they're not entitled to it now? Because they don't have it on any plan. It's not budgeted. Budgeted, that's way in the future when the money comes in. It's not even on a planning stage. There's a concept drawing from several years ago that Mr. Depot has found and that exists. But that's, in my opinion, should be, but SHA is one of the most respected. The Maryland Department of Transportation is one of the most respected departments in the United States. We have a major highway system here. We run super interstates. We run DC. And they're pros at this. They do this all day, every day on state highways. They are not asking for this right of way to be dedicated to them, given to them. Now, this phrase reserved, by the way, I still haven't heard an explanation from staff. What's that mean? Draw a line on your property and then don't use that property. So
we very much appreciate and understand your need to take some time to think about this. We're a little bit disappointed because this is the exact same argument that we made at Planning Commission. So this is not new information that we're presenting. And, like Clark pointed out, although again, we understand the need for you to digest and think about this some more and analyze it. As you know, the Royal Farm site plan is conditioned upon your approval of this plan. So we will absolutely, Mr. Dayhoff, take your suggestion to heart and submit some kind of memorandum or something that kind of lays out our presentation in a written form for your consideration. And we look forward to coming back before you as soon as possible.
All right, I think that you've made your case, and I think that we need to speak with council, because while this isn't a new subject for some of you, I can't speak for the entire council, but it's a fairly new, if not a new subject. At least a lot of the information we're getting to us. So we need to we'll discuss things with council. I personally want to look into the timelines and things that are going on here, and we will reconvene at a future meeting to be decided by, I guess, our Mr. President Pecoraro. So let's. I think everyone's made their case today, and we will keep the record open. I know I said the 24th. I'm still not sure that gives staff enough time. Mr. President and Ms. Levan, do you have a problem with us ending it, close the business on the 22nd? Is that enough time to leave the record open? The question's probably for Ms. Levan. I mean, unless you want to get some input, Mr. President. That's Tuesday. It's 2 days earlier.
The 22nd. So
this is just for people to provide comments. That's all.
Yeah, to provide comments, and that would give staff enough time to get it all together for us for the following meeting.
I mean, I think so. I mean, the reason we want to do that is because obviously the public can't appear tonight, as the applicants have, and so we want to. I think that's adequate time.
Okay. Yeah. So unless Ms. Levan has a reason we shouldn't do that, then the end of business on the 22nd at 5 o'clock, we will close public comment, and they'll be presented when we. That's I'm saying enough time in case this does go on the agenda for the 28th. It may not. But in case it does, I wanted enough time there for staff. So the end of business at 5 o'clock on the 22nd, we will close the public comments. So I believe everyone said their piece, and I will turn the gavel back over to President Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
We'll move on with the agenda now to the consent calendar. We have one item for approval on the consent calendar tonight. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. And there's a second from Mr. Yingling. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the consent calendar is approved. And now it's, Mr. Mayor, right back to you.
I believe I've taken up enough time on our agenda tonight. I will say that I think we're going to try to get it on the agenda. I got to talk to staff and figure it out for our next meeting. But myself and some of the council are all very excited about pursuing and possibly becoming a bee city if we can make it work, to help just bring it around to a little bit of a positive note, to help the pollinators of much of our food and the struggling honeybee in the United States. There are a lot of bee cities in Maryland now. We're not one of them. I'd like us to be one if we can make it work. But you will all hear a little more about that, I believe, at the next meeting. And that's all I have for the mayor's report, Mr. President.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the next item is the COVID-19 pandemic update. I've been advised by the city administrator that she has no staff updates at this time, so we'll just keep moving forward unless anybody has something they'd like to bring up. The next item is reports from standing committees, and we'll just run through the committees as we usually do, starting with the Arts Council. And our liaison there is Mr. Dehoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. It looks like the Arts Council is going to have its annual meeting this coming Wednesday, September the 16th, and we're looking forward to that. There's also a virtual workshop on wreath making coming up on Friday, September the 18th. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, September the 15th, there's a workshop that I'm interested in. It's a virtual gathering about Ask a Playwright. It's about joining other Carroll playwrights for a virtual meeting and discussing progress on plays and some of those projects that we might be working on. And then also, I think it's on another, the 18th annual Carroll Art Center Members Show is going to run beginning on September the 28th through October the 31st, and that's always a really good event, showcasing a lot of local talent, and we're looking forward to that. So for these events and much more information, check out the Carroll Arts Center website at www.carrollcountyartscouncil.org. And that's my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Mr. Yingling, I see you have your staff there with you.
Nothing to report for economic development tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, I'm pleased to report that our new Finance Director joins us tomorrow. And we're all excited to have her take on her new responsibility. So we're all looking forward to that. We'll go on to the Personnel Committee. Ms. Gilbert, you are muted.
Sorry about that. I forgot to click my no longer muted button. So we are going to be finishing up the interview process for the director of our Human Resources Department, hopefully this week. Other than that, I have nothing else to report at this time.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Mr. Cavacci.
One item this evening, Mr. President. I think I've spoken to each of you maybe briefly individually. I'm not 100% sure, but I know I spoke to each of you at some point in time through the process, but the mayor and I have been working with our chief to move our nighttime dispatching over to the 911 center through the county for both public safety reasons, for fiscal reasons, for a whole bunch of very good reasons. It was a process that we worked with Commissioner Frazier with. He him being our local commissioner, I'd like to report that we went before the commissioners last week, and they did unanimously approve taking over nighttime dispatching. I'd like to thank Commissioner Frazier for helping support this. He got behind it and really did a good job putting a shoulder into it, I think, in helping us get it done. I'd also like to compliment the mayor. They called last minute while they were in their meeting and called for him or I to call in and talk to them during the commissioners' meeting. Completely, they gave us no warning that was even going to happen. As a matter of fact, we even asked if we should be available, and we were told no, not to worry about it. But as it turns out, they needed us. The mayor called in and just absolutely knocked it out of the park. He did a really good job explaining our position. And I will tell you that up until the mayor called in, I felt that the commissioners were very much going to vote against it and had some real issues with it. And by the time the mayor got off the phone, it was a unanimous vote. So excellent job, Mr. Mayor, really excellent job. And also Commissioner Frazier, you may not be watching this, but if you end up hearing, we'd also like to thank you as well. It's a great move for the city. I think it's a positive safety move as well. So all good. And it was nice to see something positive. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Public Works Committee, Mr. Yingling, anything from you?
I do have something, Mr. President. So as head of the Public Works Committee, I've kind of dedicated a lot of time over the last 3.5 years of being in office, and obviously the council and staff have dedicated time to attacking, our water problem, and really thinking, 10, 15, 20 years, like where are we going to be and how are we going to have sustainable, sources of water to support, the community, but also support our growth. And we've kind of got a couple projects that are running, parallel to one another. One being the major one being, our water reuse initiative, which we're getting, obviously a lot of support from the state and among many others for. But we have to be mindful of that. There's another issue that is we need to attack, and we need to. Sorry, this staff is misbehaving. that we've got to attack the sewer issue, and we need to put forth, an aggressive effort to do so, and really ask ourselves, okay, after this ENR project, what is the next step? Okay, are we going to expand the plant? If we expand the plant, we get X amount of capacity, but based on our population growth, what is that capacity going to look like in 15, 20, 25, 30 years? And have, I would like the options, like a playbook, so future councils, 10 years from now, understand the gravity of the sewer issue and have options, to look at. So I'm going to be calling a Public Works Committee meeting to discuss this, and I'm asking staff to really start getting the ball rolling, and that's what we're going to focus on as a Public Works Committee, to get that plan in place. I don't know what kind of funding we might be looking at for next year, whether it's a study, I don't know. But those are the questions that we're going to start to ask here, and within the next couple of weeks, because I believe the sewer issue really needs to be. We got to look at it and come up with a solution, just like we did as a council for the water. And then the mayor also mentioned to me something. He had a very interesting plan, concept to really look at the sidewalks, which I'd really like to do as well. So I'll let him kind of go over that when the time is right. So look for that when I come back to you in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to task the Public Works Committee with let's get rolling on the sewer issue, because we have water. I'd like to believe that we've made good efforts to set up the water for the future. Now we have to do it with the sewer as well. So that's all I had, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yingling. Those are good points. I think definitely something we need to be thinking about. We'll move on now to council comments and discussion. See if anybody else has anything else they'd like to add that hasn't been covered under their committee topics. Mr. Dayhoff, anything for you?
Yes, I'd like to echo Councilman Cavacci's remarks about the mayor emphasizing the public safety aspects of the dispatch. I think that seamless dispatch is going to be increasingly important, and I really appreciated the way he handled that on the fly. I think that was great, and I couldn't agree more with Councilman Yingling, and I'm looking forward to that meeting about how it is that we need to go about expanding our sewer capacity in the future. Sidewalks is something that we've discussed in the past, and I still want to look at the parking meters. Our parking meters are still in the 1960s and 1950s, and I think we ought to take a good look at what it is that we can do to improve that. I go to other municipalities, and the ease of operating the parking meters is very different from in the city of Westminster. I don't want to steal any thunder from Ms. Gruber. I really did enjoy the pollinators in the park presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the buzz about the bee presentation coming up, and some other events that Director Gruber has to call to our attention. I think that's all I got, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Ms. Gilbert, anything from you?
No, I want to commend Councilman Yingling. I'd like to think we're I know I'm pretty new on the council, but that we're a council that not only thinks about the concerns of today, but also those concerns that will affect our future generations. So I'm looking forward to that that study or that discussion when that is available. I do want to comment. I attended the pollinators in the park. I'm excited about the potential for seeing the presentation on becoming a bee city. I looked into some of the other cities, one or two that's in Maryland, and it looks like the whole idea will be a buzz of the community. And having the pollinators in the park at Wakefield, it will be a great place to possibly add some great plants and pollination and some activities out in an area that's kind of quiet right now. So I think it would be a great upgrade that that would be a nice central idea for that area. Other than that, I'm going to be kind of quiet on my end for right now. And that's
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Cavacci.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Two quick things. Number one, I agree with Mr. Yingling wholeheartedly. You know, sewers definitely an issue for us now, and it's going to become even a bigger issue as we go forward. We've got to start thinking about, you know, long-term solution. I know I&I is certainly something that we're working on and we'll need to continue to work on. I'm under the belief that while there is an additional capacity in the $63 million upgrade, I do think there is at least the ability to add capacity somewhat more economically than if we didn't do some of the things that we've already done, hopefully to tee it up. But we definitely have to have a plan. He's absolutely right. We need to start thinking long-term, cathedrally thinking that we learned in that one work session. The other thing, and this kind of dovetails a little bit with, you know, that and what Councilman Dayhoff was talking about with parking meters and sidewalks. You know, it's all these kind of things tied into one. And that's Main Street in general. And I'm sorry, not Main Street in general, Main Street specifically when it comes to truck traffic. We had a discussion, geez, it's probably been 2 years almost at this point, where we kind of, I felt like we were maybe starting to get just a tiny bit of traction to look at what we can do there. I don't really remember what derailed it, probably a million other things, but as we get into, you know, the winter time and hopefully getting back to a full normal, full girt, you know, getting after things after COVID, hopefully starts getting behind us. I'd like to see us start looking at that again. You know, it's rare that I can be on Main Street and not see a pretty large truck traversing it and clearly not going somewhere to deliver its goods, whether it be a semi or a dump truck or a cement mixer. I watch them all the time and they never stop on Main Street. They're just using it to get around. And I really think we need to address that again. We got to get back to it. I just think it is not what we want downtown, and there's other routes that we can put them on. That's it, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. And finally, Mr. Yingling.
Yeah, one brief thing. So last week, I gave Graham Dodge, at their request, gave Graham Dodge and Josh Ambrose a little tour of the Stocksdale property. They just kind of wanted to see it, look at the site. I was happy to do it. And they asked me, they said, you know, hey, this is kind of this is a cornerstone property, you know, it's right in the middle of downtown. You know, could we do something with the property while we're figuring out what we're going to develop it into, you know? And I said, sure, you know, what do you have in mind? And they talked about, you know, doing some sort of pop-up, you know, we threw out a bunch of ideas. But then I said to them, I said, hey, I said, what if we can, to look at maybe moving the Westminster Farmers Market to that parking lot? And the reason behind it is that it's very central, it's walkable, and most people that are going to the farmers market right now, you know, they go and then they leave, you know. Also to get to it, you know, to get back to downtown from that farmers market, you actually have to walk across 27, walk down that street where the that little mini mart is, and then cross 27 again. So we looked at the site and we said, maybe this would work. So on Wednesday, I am meeting with Josh and Brooke Haggerty, who I think Brooke runs the farmers market, to get her feedback. I know that Josh had reached out, so I'm anxious to see, you know, what she thinks about it. And, you know, obviously, because she does it, you know, runs it day in, day out, see, you know, if it can be done. I think it would be great. I mean, I envision something where if it's there, you know, you put a nice sign on the side of it facing 27. So when people are driving past, they see it. Look, there is parking there. I mean, there's the parking garage. I mean, and also, you know, we want to encourage people to walk in downtown. You know, if somebody's going into Johansson's for lunch, or Raphael's, et cetera, they see, oh, what's that? It's a farmer's market. Well, they're going to walk over to it and see what it is. So just a concept. We're going to, I said, meet this week. So I wouldn't mind seeing that happen if it's feasible. So that's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hanley. Interesting idea. We'll see what comes of it. Move on now. Sorry,
Mr. President.
Mayor.
Yeah, I know it's council comments. If the council doesn't mind, I'd like to say something. I wasn't planning on bringing it up tonight, but some of the conversation has kind of touched on it. I've been working on something I've been working on for a while, and I've been, as I've visited other cities and towns and taken note and talked to other mayors, not only in the state of Maryland, but outside of the state, and how they have solved some of the same problems or begun to address some of the same problems that we have. And I plan on bringing a plan. First to the Public Works Committee, and then hopefully, if everyone there is on board and supportive to the rest of the council, I know they're all things that we're very interested in addressing. And the method in which I'd like to address them, I guess, would be up for debate. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll all agree. But I have a plan to address what kind of our streetscape. It would include the sidewalks, the meters, like Mr. Dayoff suggested, and certainly the truck traffic could be part of that conversation too. Obviously, we've talked about that for a couple of years now. But I think I have a workable plan to address those things within the means that our budget will allow. So I think I found some. In talking to some people within our organization, some people without, some creative solutions to it. So I will be bringing that shortly. If anybody would like to discuss that or kind of get a little more involved, obviously I'm all ears. But I just since it came up, I wanted to just address it shortly here today. But we'll be having that public committee meeting here soon, and the Public Works Committee meeting, and we'll start discussing some of the details and bring it to the rest of the council. That's it. I just wanted to mention it since it came up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll move on now to ordinances and resolutions. We have one tonight, resolution number 20-07, approving and adopting the revised drug-free workplace policy. Ms. Matthews.
President Pecoraro, did you want to go over the items under bids?
Oh, did I skip those? I'm sorry, I did skip those. I apologize. Yes, we do have bids. The mayor threw me off by jumping back into the conversation.
That was half my point. Half the reason I did.
He's trying to avoid these bids. All right, we do it. We have 4 bids tonight. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. The first is an award for the Westminster Family Center shower room renovation project. Ms. Gruber.
Yes, good evening. As you are aware, the fiscal year 2021 Capital Projects Fund budget provides funding for family center upgrades, specifically renovation to the shower rooms in both the men's and women's locker rooms. Over the past several years, the condition of the shower rooms in the family center has steadily declined. Some of the showers currently do not work. Additionally, the walls that provide privacy and also create the handicap accessible shower areas have been structurally impacted from water leaching through the grout, rusting the metal studs within the wall cavity. As a result, the entire shower area in each locker room needs to be demolished and renovated. After consulting with local architect Dean Canlin and visiting other businesses that completed recent renovations of shower areas, city staff determined the best course of action for remediation. The request for bids was posted on eMaryland Marketplace on July 24th, 2020. 12 contractors responded with bids ranging from $69,907 to $119,943. The lowest bid submitted by Plano Coden LLC was rejected because the contractor did not attend the mandatory pre-bid meeting. After considering all of the bids submitted that were viable and review, staff determined that the bid from Andrews Construction Incorporated from Baltimore, Maryland, met the city's needs. The company submitted a thorough proposal. All references were checked, and staff received all favorable responses with regard to the company's timeliness, quality, and integrity of work performed. With that said, staff recommends that the city award the bid to Andrews Construction Incorporated in the amount of $72,566 for renovation of both the men's and women's shower rooms at the Family Fitness Center.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gruber. Are there, can I have a motion, please? And then we can get the discussion started.
Move to approve.
Second.
Then a motion to approve by Mr. Dayoff, a second from Mr. Cavacci. Is there any discussion or any questions from Ms. Gruber? Great, it's a long-awaited project. I'm sure that folks using the fitness center will be very pleased to have it completed.
Yes, thank you.
We're ready for the vote. We'll move forward. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the bid is awarded. Thank you, Ms. Gruber.
Thank you.
The second bid is for Wakefield Valley Master Plan Development. And Ms. Gruber, back to you.
Yes. Again, funding is included in the city's fiscal year 2021 capital projects fund budget for the development of a master plan for Wakefield Valley Park. Project funding includes a grant award from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The master plan development that was the subject of the request for proposals will provide a foundation for the future phase development of the property so that it can serve as a cornerstone of the city's park system. The master plan is intended to lay the groundwork for future grant applications to finance park improvements. The city issued the request for proposals for this project on July 10th, 2020. Proposals were received from 19 architectural and engineering firms, and prices ranged from $62,985,000 to $234,890. Panoni Associates Incorporated responded to the city's request for proposals with a well-rounded and comprehensive project approach. The firm's proposal demonstrated a thorough understanding of the project and desired deliverables, with a high emphasis on a robust community outreach approach. References contacted by staff indicated that Panoni Associates Incorporated has valuable local experience in park master planning services and indicated that the firm is more than capable of delivering an innovative park master plan that incorporates a comprehensive phased implementation approach. With that said, it is the staff recommendation that the Common Council authorize execution of a contract with Panoni Associates Incorporated in the amount of $62,985 to assist with the development of a master plan for Wakefield Valley Park.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Gruber. May I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the proposal from Panoni.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second from Mr. Cavacci. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
I'm excited that, we'll get an opportunity here to take a look at maybe what some potential uses for the property is going to be. Ms. Gruber, I guess I would ask that through the process that at some point in time, maybe before you finalize the plan with, and I'm assuming this organization is going to, do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the process. But I know you're going to play probably a pretty significant role in it as well. It might not be a bad idea through the process at some point before you get all the way to the end game to maybe come and either meet with us as a whole or maybe have some conversations with each of us individually. Because what I'd hate to have happen is you put a tremendous amount of effort and this organization puts a tremendous amount of effort and time in there, and then you guys put something in front of us and there's not at least a good bit of buy-in. The obviously that group that did a lot of legwork out at Wakefield previously to put the I can't remember the name of that company now, but the water park proposal and the lavender field and that whole kind of process that we went through. By the time we got to the end, obviously, it didn't end up getting the level of support really from the council or the community. So I guess what I'm saying is it might not be a bad idea if it's possible to have maybe a checkpoint somewhere in there so that you come up with this thing, this plan that you and they think is fantastic. And we're like, we end up being bad guys saying, oh, well, that's, not within what we think is our vision or not within what we think is, something feasible budget wise or something like that. I hope you, excuse me, hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. That's my recommendation. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Yeah, I think it's a good point. Perhaps even if along the way they could consider interviewing the council members. I mean, I think people have some perspectives that might be valuable to them as they go forward. So I think that'd probably be a worthwhile effort, to make sure that we're not getting too far outside the realm of possibilities here. Anybody else have any comments?
Ms. Gruber, I just have a question. Is this is part of the conditions of this master plan? Is that where there's a small committee involved, or is that not? I'm just asking.
So currently what's earmarked in the request for proposal is a public outreach plan, which would involve some formation of a committee if in fact we felt like that would be necessary to accomplish the work and maybe dial in on some of the public input that we're receiving.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm thinking that might be a very good idea and part of maybe the creation of the committee that the mayor created not too long ago, and maybe use their expertise for that and get some community input, be it in the city and outside of the city. But I'll just leave that as comment and my thoughts as we move forward on that project.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of awarding the bid signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the bid is awarded. The FY 2021 paving project. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The current capital projects fund budget includes funding for the continuation of the city's annual paving project. Was advertised on July 16th on eMaryland Marketplace. And we had a pre-bid meeting on August 4th with the bids due on August 13th. The bidders were asked to provide unit pricing for 12 items based on estimated quantities for each item. And so below is in this chart that you have before you, I'll recite it, but that's the results of the bid. CJ Miller was the lowest bid at 1.02 million. Gray and Son was next low at 1.06. MT Laney was next at 1.13 million, and ECM Corporation was the highest at 1.28 million. Accordingly, we have reviewed and evaluated the bid from CJ Miller, as well as their references. And you may recall that for every year that we've had this this project, this road repair and replacement work, CJ Miller has been the winning bid. We've never had anyone else to compete with their price. So we're happy to work with CJ Miller again. And we have determined that their firm's proposal was acceptable, of course, and meets our needs. However, the funding for fiscal year 2021 is only $722,950, which when I say only, if it were my money, it would be a lot. But compared to other years, this has been reduced because of the financial situation that we're in this year. But regardless, the work will have to be completed by the end of June 30. It may be that depending upon Miller's schedule, they may have to do this work in the springtime. But again, because it's just a little over 50% of what we would usually have to work on the streets. They and their schedule as well. It may be able to be done yet this year before the weather turns ugly. So at this point, staff would recommend that the mayor and council accept the unit price bid by C.J. Miller, Hampstead, Maryland, and execute this contract in a not to exceed amount of $722,950 for the milling, grinding, and road work necessary to complete the paving project. So we're seeking authorization for the mayor to execute the associated contract, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. May I have a motion?
I'll move to accept the bid, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been a motion from Mr. Kavachi and a second by Mr. Dayhoff to approve the award and authorize the mayor to sign the contracts. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the bid is awarded. And the final bid is approval of a sole source procurement purchase of replacement wastewater treatment plant clarifier gates. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The 2021 sewer budget allocates funding in the amount of $300,000 for the replacement of 4 clarifier control gates and 3 clarifier drive replacement mechanisms at our wastewater treatment plant. The existing, and what we're looking for here is just the control gates in this portion of the request. But the existing gates are over 20 years old and have deteriorated due to corrosion in the environment that they're in. And since that time, they've rather outlived their usefulness. So this equipment is particular to the manufacturer, and that being the case, we have to deal with that manufacturer and that manufacturer's representative because they are assigned specific territories. So unfortunately, the competitive bidding that we normally enjoy is not a viable option in this circumstance. But the good news is, as you know, the code allows for sole source procurement, and that's what we would have to use in this arrangement. The new gates, it's 4 of them, are stainless steel, 72 inches wide, 45 inches tall, so they're really rather large, manufactured by RW Gates. They're available through the dealer rep, Sherwood Logan and Associates of Annapolis, Maryland. Further information, of course, is attached in the packet, is in the quote. But the cost of all 4 gates, including freight, is $36,915. And of course, there will be additional costs for the installation of the gates as well. We're hoping to work with the existing contractor and work this as a change order to that project so that we don't have 2 contractors working in a competing environment there for the competing space as well. Of course, we want to purchase the gates so that there's no markup on those. If we just went to the contractor and asked them for a change order, then you'd probably pay another 20% on top of the original purchase price. So by purchasing the gates on our own, then that saves the additional markup. So at this point, we would recommend that the mayor and council approve the sole source procurement for the 4 replacement gates by Sherwood Logan and Associates at Renard Court in Annapolis, Maryland. Total amount of $36,915.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, that was, I'm sorry, Mr. Dayhoff made the motion and second from Ms. Gilbert. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kavachi.
I probably missed it, Mr. Glass, but did you say that this money is budgeted, or is this an emergency amount?
No, sir, it is budgeted. We have for the entire project, including the clarifier drive mechanisms, we have $300,000.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that. I'm good, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. I seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the bid is approved. That's the end of our bids, and now it is actually time to move on to ordinances and resolutions. And for that, I will go to Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, President Pecoraro. As you likely recall, earlier this year, the Mayor and Common Council adopted the city's drug-free workplace policy, and that policy took effect on April 1st of this year. After distribution of the policy, 2 issues came to staff's attention that require modification of the policy. One of those issues is that the policy did not provide an exception for authorized employees to purchase, transport, store, and/or serve alcohol in preparation of or during one of the city's special events. The policy that is before you this evening includes a revision to state that an authorized employee performing these tasks is not in violation of the drug-free workplace policy. Additionally, the policy that's before you this evening incorporates a requirement for recollection of a urine specimen for any random drug test when the initial test result is negative dilute. Since we were amending this policy, we also recommend that we take out the language referring to the April 1st effective date, since that date has already passed. So staff recommends that the Common Council adopt resolution number 20-07, approving and adopting the revised drug-free workplace policy with an effective date of September 15th, 2020. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Matthews. Are there any questions for Ms. Matthews? All right, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. President, I'll move to adopt resolution number 20-07.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion by Mr. Cavacci and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
We have no unfinished business of which I am aware, and no other new business of which I am aware. So we'll move on to departmental reports. Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, President Pecoraro. First, I'd like to see if Councilmember Dayhoff has any comments he'd like to share with regard to the volunteer fire department.
Yes, I don't have the report ready. We'll do the report for August. We'll do that at the next meeting. This meeting's gone long enough. But I did want to mention that we did do a ceremony in commemoration of the events of September 11th, 2001, out at the Carroll County Public Safety Center to recognize the ultimate sacrifice of 8 paramedics, 60 police officers, and 343 firefighters, in addition to 2,997 civilians at the events of September 11th. I think we should always remember those folks and never forget. That'll be my report for the fire department this meeting, and I'll have a report on the statistics at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dayhoff. I wanted to share this evening that Mr. Glass and I had a call this afternoon with the 2 consulting firms assisting the city on its water reuse initiative. Those are WATEC, which is providing technical support for the project, and Katz and Associates, which is helping us with public education and outreach. The purpose of this afternoon's call was to bring everyone up to speed on the status of the various aspects of the project. Mr. Glass, as well as the WATEC representatives, walked through sort of where we are with some of the various procurements and with MDE. And our goal is basically to try to share information so that we can move forward with finalizing the outreach activities calendar. This calendar will provide a systematic approach and timeline for the city to raise awareness about water reuse in the community. Also, as the Mayor and Common Council are aware, and as was noted by Councilmember Gilbert, we are undergoing a significant transition in our Human Resources Department with the retirement of Darlene Childs, as well as the retirement later this month of Brenda Anders, who is our Human Resources Analyst. I'm pleased to share with the Mayor and Common Council that we've selected Alex Day to be our next HR analyst. And thankfully, we were able to work things out so that Ms. Anders and Ms. Day can kind of overlap by at least a couple of days before Ms. Anders' final day with us on September 28th. So we are kind of moving forward with trying to put some pieces in place with our HR department. With that, I'll turn it over to the department heads to give their reports. Mr. Davidson.
Yes, good afternoon. How's everyone? I'm happy to report that we have completed the onboarding for managed detect and response software. And now we will begin to roll out the multi-factor authentication to all our departments. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I know Mr. Depot probably has some items, and I believe there's something Ms. Gerhardt wanted to share as well. I'm not sure which of you would like to go first.
I don't have anything to update. BZA did not have a meeting, neither did the HDC. And you've heard that the Planning Commission did conditionally approve the Royal Farm site plan, but Andrea has two exciting topics she wants to update everybody on.
Exciting. I wanted to tell everybody our water and sewer amendments have been fully adopted by Maryland Department of the Environment. Many people have been involved in this. We worked hand in hand with the Department of Public Works to redo our entire chapter, as well as some other items that maybe perhaps in the future will come back before you in different ways. But typically, in doing this for 10 years, I've never seen an amendment to an entire chapter be done so quickly. So it's really exciting that ours was approved so quickly. Also, I just wanted to let everyone know that I once again represented the city on the East Middle School committee meeting that happened this past week. And I will keep you updated as to what decisions are made regarding holding on to the historical factors of the school and what they're planning on doing to that in the future. So just wanted to update you on those things.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhardt. Next up is Mr. Glass.
Yes, just a few items. There, we had bids opened for phase 3 I&I. It's interesting that that was brought up this evening. So that is one of the things that will help us in our march towards sewer sustainability as well. And those bids are currently under review. That was on September 9th. We also held a pre-bid meeting for our storm drain replacement project, and those bids are due on September 23rd. And then lastly, I'm looking forward to this proposed Public Works Committee meeting as well. I think we'll probably have some pretty good things to add to that. So that's all I have, unless there are questions for me.
Ms. Gruber.
So this coming Friday evening at 5:30 p.m., we are going to try our very first ever drive-in concert. We've been selling tickets online, and ticket sales are average. We're hoping that they'll pick up towards the end of this week as the favorable forecast closes in. Along with that event, we also have a parents' night out scheduled for 5:30 p.m. as well. So if you'd like to attend the concert, you can also attend, or you can drop your kids off in the Family Fitness Center. And we have crafts in conjunction with the Arts Council on that evening, and a lot of activities planned for the children if the parents want to enjoy the concert. I am detecting a lot of feedback on my end. Does anybody else hear that? Okay, I will end my report there and not continue on if that's going to be the case, because I'm sure that that doesn't sound very good. So that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Ms. Gruber, do you want to elaborate on any of the other city events that are coming up, or do you want to save that for another council meeting?
Because of the feedback that I'm receiving, if you don't mind, I'd like to defer to the next council meeting, if that's okay.
Okay.
And last but not least, Chief Ledwell.
Good evening, everyone. I do have a few things. So our 5 new officers continue to successfully complete their field training. They are scheduled to be done at the end of September, at which time we'll be able to better staff our patrol squads and fill some of the positions that are currently vacant. We did conduct interviews for the major position on Friday, and we're moving forward with that process. I'm pleased to announce that we were notified last week that we have been accepted to receive specialized training called active bystandership for law enforcement. It's offered through the Georgetown University Law Center's Innovative Policing Program. It's a free evidence-based active bystandership training. The goals of the training are to reduce unnecessary harm to civilians, to improve police community relations, to reduce unnecessary harm to officers, improve officer health and wellness, as well as other factors such as improving job satisfaction and citizen satisfaction. So we're excited. We were one of 25 agencies from across the country and Canada that were selected to participate in this inaugural training. And that was based on our application and letters of support that we had to have submitted from the community. So we will start that training in October. They will train some of our staff and train the trainers, and then we'll be able to provide that training to additional members in the police department. So we also have received a professional development fund grant in the amount of $5,000 that will allow for, put up my screen here. It's a program that is designed for law enforcement officers, corrections officers, fire personnel, and other first responders. It's featured by a group of experts. So this grant will bring in these experts to focus on officer wellness, first responder stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicide prevention. All important topics and all pieces of the 21st century policing tenets. So we're really pushing and looking for training for our personnel to ensure that we're properly equipped, that we're taking care of our officers and staff, and that we're providing the most professional service to the community. So pleased to announce both of those things. We received $10,000 in a grant for recruitment and retention, and it was received towards the end of the last fiscal year. However, with COVID, we were unable to get underway, so we did receive permission, and it was rolled into fiscal year 21. So we're going to be looking at potential recruitment strategies using that grant funds, potentially updating a video and things of that nature. We're also working right now in conjunction with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office to produce a series of short videos for National Night Out Week. Originally, National Night Out was scheduled in the beginning of August. It was canceled due to the COVID situation and rescheduled for the beginning of October. And they've canceled the in-person activities. Obviously, the videos don't replace that community-based event, but I think it will provide the community with an opportunity to see some of our officers, see some of the stuff we do in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office. So we're working on completing those videos, and I believe that the plan is to put out one short video per day for National Night Out Week. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. I think that concludes the departmental reports, unless there's any questions from the Mayor and Common Council.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Matthews. Any questions for Ms. Matthews or the rest of the team? All right, great, then we'll move on. So that concludes most of the agenda. The final item on our agenda is citizens' comments, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. It's difficult to allow live comments online during these meetings, and we will continue to host these virtual meetings until we can return to City Hall. In the meantime, we invite comments to be sent to our city clerk at comments@westgov.com, At this time, every meeting, I will read out all of the comments we have received. And we have no comments tonight, but please, if you have any concerns, please do not hesitate to share them with us. And that concludes our meeting and the agenda for this evening. And without objection, we are adjourned until our next meeting on September 28th. Thank you all very much. Stay healthy and safe. Take care.